Happy Monday, everybody. I have 4 decks that you can use to climb the ladder, to dominate the ladder. All of these are above 50% win rate. They're also not very difficult to pilot. These should be easy for you to pilot these decks, and also they're not going to break your bank. You will not need to take out a second mortgage to play these decks. So let's get right into it. First up, to look at the win rates, and oh my goodness, how the mighty have fallen. Paladin is now number 8. When was the last time you've looked at any of these videos or seen any of these meta reports and seen Paladin so low on the win rates? It's been months. It's a Demon Hunter's World right now, and in case you have not seen or have not watched any of my videos, Ridiculous Hat on Friday posted that they're going to be doing a Demon Hunter nerf right during the Duos patch, which I believe is April 16th, so be prepared for that. Demon Hunter's on a tear. Hunter's on a very good tear. Warlock's on a very good tear. Death Knight keeps on going back and forth, and then look, there's Shaman, Mage, Druid on the bottom. It's weird. Priest is going up, so it's kind of cool that we're seeing the meta fluctuate like this. But my goodness, I didn't think, like I said, if you had asked me, hey, how is Paladin going to be doing for the next couple of months, it would be, oh yeah, number 1, number 2, number 3 for the next couple of months. I'm wrong. Let's get into the decks. Okay, so first off, the cheapest deck that we're going to talk about today is Nature Shaman, and this deck is 1,560 dust with a 57.6% win rate. It's very fast pace. Your main objective here is putting all of your spell damage minions on board and then using the spell damage spells that you have to beat your opponent up, hit them in the face as much as possible, and then also you'll be able to hit with AoE damage your opponent's minions on the board. But the main thing is building up a combo that really hits your opponent for like 30 plus damage, and it can happen, and it does happen with this deck. This deck is 1,560 dust. Like I said, the only legendary in this is Blood Mage Thalnos. It's a core card. You should already have it. And look, there's a spell damage minion. Okay, and then we also have Kobold Geomancer, which is a spell damage minion. And then we also have, where is the other one? We have Novice Zapper. So you want all of these spell damage minions absolutely possible on your board to do those huge damage with all the spell damage that you're going to have. Flow Rider is super useful because you will be overloaded. You saw each one of those. You saw some of these cards in here. You've worked with some of these cards. You will be overloaded, and this just gives the ability to discover another spell. If you're discovering spells or grabbing copies of spells, you want to do spells that do damage. Don't worry too much about having spells that, buff up your minions or what have you, unless it's spell damage, but you really want to focus on spells that damage your opponent, and especially your opponent's face and minions if at all possible. Lightning Bolt, deal 3 damage. It's 1 mana spell that's nature spell, and look, it could turn into a big hit. It could be 0 mana. You could be able to play multiple of these, so keep on going with that one. Lightning Reflexes is good. Discover a nature spell. You play it this turn, discover another. This is also huge for 1 mana. This is great. Like I said, do damage to your minions, your opponent's face, okay? Miracle Salesman is a great card. It's, besides having something on the board to put pressure on your opponent, being able to not focus on your face, but be able to focus on board, and then it just gives you that tradable snake oil that will do damage for a little bit if you have those spell damage minions on board. Novice Zapper we talked about. Overdraft is a little wonky. This is good to unlock all the overloaded mana crystals, deal that much damage. You could deal it to the opponent's face to do that one last hit if needed, but there is options here in case you don't want to put overdraft in there. I've seen several different cards that you can add in instead of. We'll get to that. Pop-up Book is good because not only is it going to deal 2 damage, but it's also going to put something on your board that keeps the opponent from killing anything else or hitting you in the face. So it's just, those are little annoying 2 0/1 frogs with taunt that keep the opponent, like I said, from smacking you directly in the face. Spirit Claws is a great weapon. It has +2 attack when you have spell damage. You're going to have spell damage, so you might as well have this one. Blood Mage Thalnos, we talked about briefly. It's got spell damage. The bonus here and the upside here is if it's Death Rattle, draws a card, you need to have some card draw there, that's perfect. Dry Scale Deputy. The next time you draw a spell, get a copy of it. So throw that out. Work on something to get another draw spell, and you'll have 2 of them. That's perfect. Flash of Lightning is another one. Draw a card. Next turn, your nature spells cost 1 less. So it says, next turn, your nature spells cost 1 less. So when you're ready to pop off with all these 1 mana or 2 mana spells, throw this out for the next turn. So your opponent should see this card coming out and go, okay, I've got a combo coming my way. It's time to prepare. So when you're ready to hit that combo off with all those cheap spells or 0 cost spells with the +1 damage, make sure that you're prepared for whatever your opponent hits you, okay? Use that, like I said, when you're ready to make those swings. Gold Panter's a great card. At the end of your turn, draw a card. You need that. You'll be able to have 2 of these in your hand, in your deck, so I would use both of them, absolutely. You got Kobold Geomancer, like I said. This one's the spell damage +1. You have Needle Rock Totem. At the end of your turn, gain 2 armor and draw a card. This is an amazing card as well. Not only do you get a little bit of armor to save yourself, because you are going to be setting up your combos to where you're not going to be like swinging a lot, and the minions that are in this deck are not huge. They're not powerful. They're 1 mana or 1 health or 2 health. They're not something crazy. So you are going to get hit in the face. So this is just cool to just create some armor to make it easier for you to survive for longer than 1 or 2 turns extra. Wand Maker. Add a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand. You know what this is. This is more Lightning Bolt. This is more Lightning Reflexes, things like that. This is a good card as well. And then Crash of Thunders, deal 3 damage to all enemies, cost 1 less for each nature spell you've cast this turn. You're going to be getting this pop off for 0 mana. Absolutely. If you do it right, you're hitting your opponent 5 or 6 spells deep in 1 turn, and you're just killing your opponent. If the opponent has a lot of armor, or his health totals or what have you, and you're playing on mobile, you'll need to calculate a little bit. So make sure you're watching, what exactly they have in terms of armor and health, because you might hit the situation where you're 1 off damage or 2 off lethal, things like that. Okay, like I said, I'm not 100% sold on Overdraft. I think there's some good alternatives here. So what you could do is you could throw Thrall's Gift in there. That's a very good alternative to Overdraft. It'll give you extra cards that you can use, especially their spells. So you'll be good to go. You could also throw Cactus Cutter in here. That would be a good idea. Maybe Ancestral Knowledge, one of those cards. And if you could find a low-cost nature spell that'll do damage directly to your opponent, throw that in as well. I'm just not a huge fan of this card. I'm not saying you don't need it, but you might find that you swapping out one of those cards as well might be a good thing. Next up, Flood Paladin, 3,960 dust with a 61.8% win rate. Yes, it's number 8 on the win rate ladder, but it's also a good deck that you could be able to play. There's not a lot of crazy minions in here that you need. You probably have most of these already. The only legendary in here is Zilliax, and there's a reason for Zilliax being in this deck. This is called Flood Paladin, and I had to confirm this with other people that are in content creation for Hearthstone, because I thought I was correct on this, but listen, they're calling it Flood Paladin because you're supposed to flood your board with 1-2 health minions, and then use your spells to buff them up and hit your opponent in the face many times. Before you know it, this deck will creep up and just kill your opponent. So let's go over it. So Miracle Salesman, we've talked about this card a couple of times in the past. It's getting popular as well. You got that tradable snake oil in case you need to put something else in your deck, and it's just something that's easy to get on the board. Mermy Reborn, possibility that it'll stay a little bit longer. Righteous Protector, these are all sticky minions that'll stay on the board. Will do something for you if they go away pretty quickly. Same with mining casualties. Same with muster for battle. You want to have as many things on board as possible. Trinket Artist will draw a Divine Shield minion and an aura, so you can put those down because it's all super cheap. There's not crazy amount of high cost minions in here at all, besides Zilliax and Sea Giant. And look, when you're looking at Sea Giant's going to be cost 1 less for each other minion on the battlefield. So hopefully you have 5 or 6. So this is not going to cost you a lot. And then it's an 8/8 minion that'll do some damage. Zilliax is one of the ones that I've talked about before. You should have crafted this card if you could only craft 1 legendary minion this expansion. And this one's going to want the Pylon module, which your other minions have +1/+1. There's a reason for that, because they're not pretty heavy, and you want to make sure that you can keep them on board for a little bit longer. And then ticking module as well, cost 1 less for each minion in play, and hopefully you've got multiple minions in play. Boogie Down is good, but you'd want to have that immediately. Summon 2 1-cost minions from your deck. Finale, summon another. You're going to want that. Keeps them on the board, and then you could do those next things like Crusader Aura. Crusader Aura is awesome. I thought this was going to be nerfed the other week, but they didn't. They nerfed Deputization. Crusader Aura will, whenever a friendly minion attacks, give it +2/+1. It lasts 3 turns. And listen, you're going to be sitting there. If you can't find that, you're going to want to grab Trinket Artist, who will help push that out. So remember that as well. Really, like I said, the main thing of this deck is just getting these on the board and then putting Crusader Aura out. That'll help just smack your opponent's health down. Flash Sale is very good as well. Summon a 1/2 mech with Divine Shield and Taunt. Give your minions +1/+2. It's keeping them on the board. It's keeping them to stay on board with that, and maybe, the Zilliax, maybe that with the Sea Giant. You just have big minions. It's going to be tough for them to kill. Make sure you're not just sitting there 1 turn, throw out 1 small minion. 1 turn, throw out 2 small minions. 1 turn, throw out another small minion, because it'll be very easy for your opponent just to beat those down. You want to be able to put multiples up at the same time, so the opponent has to find reasons to clear your entire board, and then just uses their resources to do that for 1/2s. But if you're doing it that way, where you're just trading off 1 minion after the other, you will not have any luck on this deck. Next up, we're going to talk about Pain Warlock. This one's at 4,560 dust with a 62.8% win rate. And I saw this being played yesterday a couple of times on Friday, and the more I see it, the more I think this is a very, very strong. It's a very good deck. You have to be mindful with this deck that your opponent is going to hit you little bits and pieces here or there, what have you, but you're going to do the most damage to yourself. You're going to lose health immediately. You're going to lose a lot of health. You're going to be close to, 3 to 5 health away from dying. So if you're squeamish about that, and you really, 100% want to have all your resources together with health or what have you, I don't know if I would play this deck. It's not for the squeamish. You're going to do damage to yourself. And the main piece of this is the big minions on board, like Imprison Horror, which is the 9 mana, costs 1 less for each damage you've taken on to turn this game. And then the Molten Giant, costs 1 less for each damage your hero is taken. Your hero needs to take a lot of damage to make this low. You can get these Molten Giants on board and these Imprison Horrors on board immediately within 4 turns, 5 turns. By doing that, by using Flame Imp to deal 3 damage to your hero. Fracking is really good. Look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, draw 1 and destroy the others. You're looking for those big minions if they're not out already. So you would use this card to find those big minions and get them into your hand. Miracle Salesman, hey look, we haven't talked about that before. Monstrous Form, give a friendly minion +3/+3 until your next turn. This is a good card as well, so you'll be able to make those bigger minions even bigger with this. Baritone Imp, take fatigue damage, gain that much attack and health. So There's a lot that you can do with this, even if it's not a lot of fatigue damage. But again, you've got to watch your health counter. Celestial Projectionist is good. Choose a friendly minion, add a temporary copy of it to your hand. So listen, you want to go ahead and make another Molten Giant? You could probably get a Molten Giant out there for free that you can put in immediately if you do enough damage to yourself. So remember that. Crescendo, take fatigue damage, deal that much damage to all enemies. Good board clear. Good board clear. Just make sure you have enough fatigue damage there. Elementium Geode, Battlecry, and Death Rattle. Draw a card. Deal 2 damage to your hero. This will help you. You need card draw with here. You need to make sure that you're trying to put all of your big minions in hand, and this will help. Forge of Wills is good as well. Forge of Wills will, choose a friendly minion, summon a giant with its stats, and rush. If you have something crazy big on board, you can make another friendly minion that could possibly destroy your opponent's minions on board, or just build something out that, makes your board a lot more difficult to beat. When this is played, discarded, or destroyed, draw 2 cards. You want card draw. You also have this card in there for Doomguard. Battlecry, discard 2 random cards. You remember this card. You're going to discard some cards. Again, you're not worried too much about your resources. You're not too worried at all about your health. You're worried about getting those big minions on board so you can fight the opponent. Malefic Rook, attack your hero. You're going to do 5 damage with this, but you've got a 5/6 on board. Okay? You also have Troglodyte, rush, deal 4 damage to your hero. Everything that's being done, and this is why they call it Pain Warlock, this is going to hurt you. But the cool thing is, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, your board is full of 8/8s or 5/5s or 5/6s. Your opponent can't do anything about it. Popguard the Putrid, I did not see when I watched all the decks, this deck being played, I did not see this card being used once. It's good to have because it has lifesteal and the barrels of sludge, are good to do damage to your opponent, but I did not see this being used. So if you do not have Popgar, you could try taking it out. The idea would be you could throw Sargeras in if you have that Titan, maybe Leroy Jenkins to do that last final swing of damage to your opponent's face. You could put Yogg-Saron Unleashed in there, which would let you either have your minions, all the minions attack each other on your enemy opponent's side, or you could also steal one of their big minions. You could sit there and do something with even Zilliax if you have it. Hopefully you have it. You could do something with the perfect module with divine shields and life steals, the ticking that costs 1 less per, or the pylon that does your minions +1/+1. Any of those will work. Or you can swap that out and then just go ahead and put life steal spells in there just to give yourself a little bit more health. Try it if you have it, but if you don't have it, I don't think that this should stop you from trying this deck. But remember, this is not for the squeamish. You're going to do damage to yourself. You're going to see yourself hit multiple times. Before you know it, if you're not watching what you're doing, your opponent can hit you with a quick, 1/2 weapon and hit you down dead in 2 turns. Okay, last up is Zilliax Rogue. This is 4,360 dust with a 57.2% win rate. It's, of course, a little bit cheaper because we all should have gotten Harth Stonebrew. That shouldn't cost you any dust. And its main thing, another Zilliax deck. I told you before, Zilliax is going to be prevalent in a lot of the decks that you see for the next couple of months. So we have to get used to that. This is just a rogue deck that deals with making your Zilliax module super big, super stealthy so it stays on board, and then super strong so you hit your opponent in the face multiple times. So to go over this deck a little bit, preparation, next spell you cost this turn cost 2 less. Why wouldn't you want this? Deafen, silence a minion, combo. Also deal 2 damage to it. So get something off the board or do some damage with a minion. Dig for treasure. Draw a minion. If it's a pirate, get a coin. There's no pirates in here. There's no pirates in this deck. I guess it's just to dig for a minion to pull a minion out for 1 mana. I don't see this being a huge deal. Frequency Oscillator. Now, this is where you want to start dealing with it. The next mech you play costs 1 less. You're going to be playing mechs in this zone, so this one is a good card that you're going to want to keep. It helps you get some good items on your mechs, low cost, so you can play multiple at the same time. Gear Shift. Shuffle the 2 leftmost cards in your hand and into your deck and draw 3 cards. This is perfect for you to have card draw. This is a really good card that's been out for a couple of expansions now, and I thought it was a really cool card. Miracle Salesman. Hey, look, we've talked about the snake again. Snake is back. Eviscerate, deal 2 damage, combo, deal 4 damage instead. It's a, very fundamental rogue card that helps you do a little bit of damage at 1 turn for 2 mana. It's not bad. Phantom Knives, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions and draw a card. Does 2 things, potential board clear, and drawing a card is a good thing. From the scrap heap is the cool one. So you're gonna get 3 1/1 magnetic spark box with random bonus effects. Put this out here, use it, keep the minions in there, because like I said, you're gonna want to use that magnetic part. You're gonna want to use it with the other mech minions that are in this deck to do some fun stuff at the end. Greeter Partner, if you're holding another 2-cost card, get a coin. There's several 2-cost cards for you to go for, so you will have that coin. Pit Stop. Pit Stop is awesome. Discover a mech from your deck and give it +2/+1. So any of the mechs that you have in your in your deck, you'll be able to give them a little bit more damage. Quick Pick. After your hero attacks, draw a card. So having that 1/2 weapon that allows you to have a card draw is amazing. Sap as well. Return an enemy minion to your opponent's hand. I don't like this card, but that doesn't mean this card isn't good. I don't like this card because I don't want an effect that your opponent has played with a minion to happen again. And you should be using this card as okay, I'm allowed to smack my opponent in the face, but he's got something blocking me. Let me go ahead and put that in. Because the downside is whatever good that minion did for your opponent, it's going to do it again. Possibly even more than that, because you have 2 saps. So use that as hey, I need to get that opponent's minion off the board in order for me to punch that opponent in the face. You've got Spider here. Spider is magnetic, 3/4, mech and beast. It goes stealth for 1 turn. And this is why you want this. One of the reasons why you want this at lowest cost as possible is Zilliax. So Zilliax is going to be strong. Zilliax with Power Module. At the start of your turn, double this minion's attack. And then Virus Module, Stealth, Elusive, Poison If, Reborn. This will be tough for your opponent to take off of the board. And it's also going to help that you have spiders. So double that attack from Zilliax and then make it stealth after you punch the opponent in the face. And then do that multiple times. You've got a very big Zilliax on board. And then you can also use those little 1/1 mechs to, where is it, from the scrap heap? Those little 1/1 magnetics just to make that Zilliax stronger. And then, of course, at the end of the game or whenever you want, depending on how your board state is, just use Harth Stonebrew, because all of the cards and all of those, regardless of what class cards it gives you, are pretty strong and usually are able to do some good stuff if you have a very strong foothold on the game. I think that's really it to talk about this one. This one looks fun. It looks busted. I didn't get to see it played as much as I wanted, but the 2 games that I saw being played with this one is really, really cool, and I'm interested in seeing more of this. You could also swap out a couple other mechs if you want. If you don't think that you need to do the Eviscerate damage or the Dig for Treasure damage, you could try to find some other mechs in there. You just got to worry about card draw as well, and what your opponent's doing. This could creep up on you to where you're building your little Zilliax. They're creating, 12 minions on board with taunt. You never know. So just remember that. See what you're playing, see who your opponents are, and go from there. Dig for Treasure's awesome card art. You can't see it. There you go. Dig for Treasure. Awesome card art. Love it. That's it for this week. I'm going to try to do something a little bit differently. I'm going to try to take some of these decks and try to play a couple of games, maybe even stream a couple of games with these this coming week, and I'll just throw them up here on the channel. I love that idea. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I'm going to win any games or what have you, but it'll give you an idea of how some of the decks should be played. We'll see how it happens, and then please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see you all in the next video.